and welcome to today's Alteryx training. I am Fabian Wiki, the data scientist at Syndro, and today we'll be looking at the preparation tools in Alteryx. We'll be looking at quite a few for this section: the autofill tool, the record ID tool, the select record tool, the random percentage sample tool, the sample tool, and the create sample tool. But for today, we'll be looking at the autofill tool. So the autofill tool is a tool that helps to convert strings to the minimum possible size. Okay, so when you have a string, probably it's a V string or it's a normal string, right? String, have different data types. I'm probably will be looking at that in the future, but for today, we're just going to be looking at how the autofill tool works. So basically, the autofill tool is just used to rightly reduce the size of a string. So it doesn't work on other data types like Boolean, special data type, numeric, or the likes. It only works on string. And one other thing you need to note about the autofill tool is that whenever you have a numeric field, if you have a numeric field and then you have probably like any of its values starting with 0. For example, you have a numeric field and then you have something like 09 or 01. Autofill tool is going to take that field, that numeric field, as a string and not a numeric field. So we're going to be looking at that shortly. And of course, this is the icon for the autofill tool. It's in the preparation tool palette, and that's why it is encoded blue for now in Alteryx. So let's look at the autofill tool in Alteryx. So we're just going to be switching over to Alteryx now, and then okay. So to get the autofill tool, you have to come to the preparation tool palette, and then you're going to see it here. So this is the autofill tool. Just in case you do not have this tool here, just come over to this add or remove tool icon, and then look for the preparation tool palette. You click on it, and then you look for the autofill tool, and then you click on OK. So it is checked, and that's why I do not need to click again or check this again. So like Alteryx is a drag and drop software, so you just left click and drag your autofill tool, and then you can see that there is probably no configuration in here because this autofill tool needs to be connected to like an input tool. It has two anchor, right? The input anchor and the output anchor. So I'm just going to clear this and then try to bring in a data, maybe an Excel file or a CSV file. So let's use our input data tool, and then let's just bring a file. So I'll be bringing just let's do sample superstore. It's actually a very popular data set. So, and then I'm just going to connect my browse tool. You can check out for the tutorials on how to use this browse tools and these other tools in this YouTube channel. Okay, so this is like an overview of this data, right? This is an overview of the data we have in here. And then if you look at this, so for example, if you look at this, so this is an overview. And the first thing I want you to always do, and why it's actually very important to use autofill tool, is that in a way it improves the performance of your data because it reduces the size of your string values, right? So, strings are actually very complex to work with in softwares like this, right? Because it is actually, it takes more processing power. All right, so the first thing you have to do is to check your metadata to have a description of all your fields, right? So you come to your metadata tab, and then you click, and then you can see the description of the fields we have in here. The row ID is a numerical field, and that's why it has the type double. And then this size is the size of the values, right, of the row ID. So for example, if we come here, you can see that's 8. So for the row ID, like the highest size will be 8, right? So, and that's why we're having 8 bytes here, right? You can see we have 4 here, right? So it's allocating 8 to it so that there will be no truncation, right? So it will not truncate the values we have, and that's why we have 8. So it's like the maximum size for that particular thing, right? So for that particular field. Now, if we check other fields, so let's see, if we check other fields, you can see we have string here, right? We have the v string here, VW string, that's a variable length string. Okay, and then you can see here we have city, customer ID, and likes to be what v string. Okay, so now let's do two things. Just going to add the auto field to here so we can compare, and then I'm going to add the browse tool. Now back to the auto field tool. If you realize that, if you check here, for example, right, double row ID is double, which is a numerical data type. You can see it is not included in the auto field configuration, right? Because it is a numeric field. You can see here it says select string fields to auto change field type, right? So basically the auto field tool only works on string fields. It is specific to just string fields. So you can see here the ship dates, which is a date time field. You can see it is not included here, right? And you can see that. So this is just like a confirmation of you looking at the auto field as just a tool that works on the string field alone, right? So, and of course you can, deselect some things if you do not want um the size of uh, this particular field to be reduced, right? But then when I probably want to have a workflow, the first thing I do is after bringing in my data, I automatically just connect the auto field to, because it reduces the size of my data, and then of course that will increase the performance of your workflow and the time it's going to take to run, right, in the long run. Okay, so let's run this, and then you can just clear all if you do not want to select anything. But I do not know why you're bringing the auto to when you do not want to select anything. So like I said, I'm just going to have all this checked, and then run this. Okay, so now you can see here is about 4.9 MB. You can see that was about 3 point something, right? So if we check this, for example, you can see the other ID here is 255 in size, okay, and then this 255 and the likes. So if we look at I'm currently clicking this. So if we look at the results when we bring in an autofill tool, you can see that drastically reduced the size of this, right? And you can see that is why we need an autofill tool. All right. So you can see that's drastically reduced the size of the of our fields, right? And you can see that we actually do need this tool going forward. So like I said, the first thing I do after bringing any of my data in is using the autofill tool, because it automatically just reduces the size of my field, right? Okay, and just going to clear this and then drag in an input tool, for example, and then I'm going to say name and age. Okay, so let's say Candy. Yeah, that's my name. Let's say I'm 26, for example, and let's say Ford is 28. And let's say Mr. Stone is 11, right? And I'm going to just connect this to, okay. Now, if we run this, you can see clearly that age is a byte type, which is numerical, right? Because you can see, right? And then let's try and connect the auto field to, and you see what I'm trying to do here. Okay, so I'm just going to run this. So remember, we're on metadata tab. So if we switch back to the data tab, you can see what we have in here represented in the results window, right? So you can see clearly here that name is a string, and then this is a numerical field because we have numbers in there, right? So we can see, of course, from here. You can see this is size 7, this is size 1. Let's see. Any reduction in here. So let's see. So you can see that for this, you can see the size is 7. So not much reduction, but and the thing I want to emphasize here is look at this bytes, right? So this is a numerical data type. But then if we have for example, if we have any field that starts with 0, so let's say for example Jerry, and then let's say Jerry is just 5, and then instead of 5 we type in something like 05, you see that this numerical field is going to change to a string because we have a 0 value here. So you can see that's changed to a string because we have a what? A 0 value that begins our field here, right? You can see that this 0 begins the value, and that is why it's going to take it as a string. So have it at the back of your mind that this is changing, this is going to change any numerical field. So any numerical field you have that has a value that starts with 0 is automatically going to, be taken as a string. And one other thing why you actually need the autofill too is that, for example, whenever you have a CSV file, right? A CSV file automatically brings in all the data fields as a string, just in case you have not paid attention. So I'm just going to show you this, and then look at this. And then I'm going to go to data and then run this. So this is our Titanic data set, the CSV file, right? And you can see this, right? So you can see all we have in here, right? And if you check the metadata, you're going to see that everything is a string, right? And that is how it is for a CSV file. So bringing a CSV file into Alteryx, the first thing you would want to do is to, use the autofill tool, right? The autofill tool. So let's try and do this, okay? And then I'm going to drag this in. So we will see the importance of the autofill tool, most especially when you're. So you can see this has automatically changed. So if I check this, of course, we know this is a numeric field, right? And this, and this. So you can see numeric field, right? So if we look at this, for example, so you can see that it has changed everything to the appropriate data type, and of course reduce the size of this. So if we compare this here, you can see this is 254, right? It's pretty large, right? Compare this to these values here. You can see how small this is, right? So you can see that the autofill is actually a very important tool, most especially if you are bringing in a CSV file, right? It's really helps you to reduce the size, and then imagine you want to look for the average age here, right? You will not be able to do that because, of course, this is a string, right? So you can see how to use the autofill to achieve this. All right. So like I said, the autofill tool is actually very important in Alteryx, and it helps you to reduce the size of your data, and helps to uh, appropriately apportion the correct data type to your field, most especially when you have in a CSV file, right? So that will be all for today. Thank you for listening to today's tutorial, and see you next time.